Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today I thought we'd do the fourth part of our exciting airport build. Right, so last time I said that I'd probably move up to the Lego room for this part, but thinking about it a bit more, I think we're better off on the desk because I've got to do the roof, and I think that's going to require a bit of trial and error and a bit of close measuring, so it's going to be easier to do down here on the building desk than on the Lego tables upstairs. But first of all, before we get started, I've got my Bedoying buzzer out, and that's just so I can go through some amendments from last time. The first one is in the security area, where we've just added a very, very small and subtle red light into the Technic pinhole. Don't know if you can see it there. You can probably see it just past the man there, just to the bottom left of the screen. A red light just for that to go off when contraband has been spotted. And it just plugs a hole, so that's quite a good one, even though it's very small indeed. And then also in there, we've got the security guard himself with a red mug of tea. That's one very close to my heart, so a very important change for him to have a tea on. Then a very popular one was to move the departures board, one of them. I did have one on this stanchion here that was kind of facing that way, so I've just moved that back a bit so it's on the absolute outside wall over here, so all the people facing that way can see it. And the one that's over security I think is in the right place because that can be seen by all the people facing towards it, which is the majority, so that is a good suggestion. Also inside, we've got another one sticker, which matches the one that we've got on the panel piece on the top of the gate. Fortunately, I had another one, so that was really useful, but that shows that this is gate 1 of how many, I do not know, but good idea there. And then we have to move to this end of the outside, where I said I wasn't going to do this, but I've started it, doing even more accurate markings on the outside. So apparently the jetway has a solid red boundary around the area, and although I haven't quite got enough at the back corner there, and it probably should come out a little bit more, I think that's about all I'm going to do. So I've moved the dotted line down here, so there's still an area for this fuel truck to be sort of sat in as well, so thanks for that. And then another suggestion was just to, and this is even harder to see, there we go, put some stickers onto the chocks just so they've got nice chevrons on. And although you can barely tell with the tyres there, barely see it at all, I think that is nonetheless an improvement. So thanks for that one as well. So this area will be paved, and I have decided to actually use my very precious 4 large 8x16 tiles just so we can do more of that today. I won't have enough tiles to do all of it, but I have made the order to get them. And in doing that, I'm going to improve slightly the yellow lines and so on. These are just the tiles that I have, the only ones I have, because I'm always running out of tiles, and they do build up quite significantly in cost quite quickly. So I will be setting the scene a lot better when we get upstairs and adding the outside wall and so on, so it will get better. And I also had a lot of suggestions to tile the inside, which is quite an area when you look at all of it, especially considering I'm going to have to tile the outside bit here as well. And you know, all of this really adds to a lot to the cost of a build like this, which is already quite significant just because of the size of it. And people say, you know, but Robin, just use your advertising money to pay for all the tiles. Well, the fact is the advertising money covers only about 1/3 of the cost of all the Lego that goes into this channel, with the balance being made up by, yep, me. So there's only so much that I can really put into the channel at one go. So if you do value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. The easiest perhaps is doing Patreon for just £2 a month to give a little support, and if even 10% of you did that, we'd have no worries whatsoever. Other ways is to use the Lego link for buying your items from Lego, and I get a few percent off that. I think it's 5% of your spend, and basically costs you absolutely nothing. I might get an Amazon affiliate link as well before Christmas, see if that helps. But yeah, so do bear that in mind when you're making very costly suggestions. Other suggestions I haven't done are things like a hire car, sort of little booth, maybe a restaurant, making this whole section have 2 floors. And they're all great ideas. I do want to do all of them, but I really can't do it at this stage just because I don't have the parts. If you remember my city tour, where I did the room tour as well with the parts that I've got, you'll know that I have a very, very small amount on reserve. So essentially any large ideas I just haven't got the ability to do. So in that case, we'll have to come back and do it perhaps another day. And that sort of is the answer to the question that a lot of people also ask me, which is, what are you going to do when the room is full? Well, I'm going to do a whole second pass because I kind of have an unofficial rule at the moment of not going back and redoing things. And that's just so I gain the forward momentum, or keep the forward momentum of trying to fill this room. All of those people that are waiting for things like the fairground are justifiably, impatient to see that. I am too. I'm one of the most impatient people to see the fairground, all motorized and so on. But we're never going to get there if we keep going back and redoing things. So that's why that rule is there. But what I will do when we've done everything once is go back and do everything I'm not entirely happy with a second time. So that is the plan. So just a few amendments there. But now I think we'd better get this roof on, because without that, it's not going to make much sense at all. Oh no, the police have found me. Quick, run. Right, the roof. This is arguably the most difficult part, I think, largely because of the size of the thing. The width of this is actually 56 studs wide for the roof covering, and it's 24, including a little overhang I'm going to have on the front, deep, which makes it a huge expanse. And it's made all the more difficult because I want to be able to obviously remove it. If I was just attaching it directly to these bricks and leaving it there, then that would be fine. But I am going to want to be able to remove it all in one piece. Well, quite conveniently, really, and arguably even maybe one-handed if we're lucky, so I can do it whilst filming. So that makes it a bit of a challenge. And as a result, it needs to be really strong as well, just to support its own weight and not to sort of, bow in all of the sort of larger gaps here. And that's why I did do all these cross beams and so on to give it as much help as I could. Now, somebody suggested I add skylights, maybe with the same colour that we've got on these windows here, to add a bit of light to the inside. And although I love that idea, I just think that perhaps it's a little unrealistic for these sort of large boxy buildings, but also it's just going to ruin that strength, I think. So we're going to go for a completely solid flat roof in grey, which will be a bit drab, but I think very realistic, because on top of that we're also going to have a control tower and, well, maybe another couple of features, I don't know yet. Now, if that wasn't complicated enough, we've also got our 2 play features coming out of the roof. So we've got our nice turny door and we've got our nice turny carousel that I like very much. So I need to fit both of those in as well. Now, also, that's going to create a bit of a problem with the strength in that we're making a hole. So we're going to have to reinforce those, but it still needs to be flush to all of these tiles. So, lots to consider. So as inspiration, I'm using the set 60104. Airport passenger terminal, which is kind of the one that I've used for the idea of just using these white pieces and these. It's not really a direct copy, but it's got the revolving door and so on. And I do like the vibe of that building. I do think it's probably the most realistic. So I've got quite a few of these sort of curved slope pieces, which I'm going to use as that sort of overhang all along this entire front edge. And I was going to use them for the entire kind of backside of this all the way along until we moved this play feature here, because it would massively clash with that. And if I'm going to have a broken run of these, then essentially, well, I can't manufacture a hole for a play feature in the middle of one of these pieces, so I'd have to break it up somehow. But I think I've got round that problem by basically using the fact that this building is a facade, albeit a very deep one, and the impression is that the building continues on past the back, and that's probably where the other jetways and gates would be, and the other shops and so on. So this building goes on from that. So this roof will only use these for part of its length along the back, suggesting that this building does continue for much more space than it is shown in the Lego room. Right, so I'm going to start laying out what I have to do here. Right, so here we are with those roof pieces. We're going to have a row at the back and a row at the front. And the whole depth, as I said, is 24 studs. So we've got 4 there, which means we need 16 in the middle. So if I just flip all these over, because I think we're going to have to build this thing upside down. And if I use a 2x16 on this end just to mark out the depth required, then there we are. That's roughly what we're going for. Now, although these pieces are great at being curved slopes and looking really good together, what they do have is this small tab, and it's not actually the full length of the piece, which makes the edge that I have to deal with kind of a bit jagged, kind of crenulated like a castle wall. So what I'm going to need to do is fill this in with loads of different combinations of plates, an absolute load of them, to kind of fill in all of the gaps. So if I put in 2 4x8s, that will kind of marry with the next set, like that. That leaves me with a 4x14 space, so I'm going to use 2 2x14s in there. Let's see if we can get that going. There we go. So that is what I'm aiming for, and I'm going to have to keep doing this all the way along. I'm trying to use as many big pieces as possible, just because it makes it a little bit stronger, and then I'm going to have to make, well, variations when we get to the play features that we've got to incorporate. So the next stage would be probably to start joining some of these together with some strengthening cross beams. So let's do some of that. There, and that. So there we go. So it's starting to come together, because this has to be the layer that hits the white tiles. So I may need to strengthen it from the top side as well as the bottom side, because I don't think this will be enough, quite frankly. What have I done there? I messed it up. Yeah, I've messed it up. There we go. So there we go. That's looking pretty good. Probably need more kind of in the middle to strengthen that. So that would be the start of our roof. So you can sort of see where we're going with it. Now, on top of that, I'm fairly sure we're going to have to strengthen it, because already you see it's not holding together, because those pieces are just held on by those 4 studs. I think what we're going to have to do is clamp it again from the top. And just for a bit of contrast, I think I might start using, see, it's falling apart as we speak. I might use light bluish grey there. I'm just doing some rough pieces here. I'll probably use bigger ones, quite frankly, to therefore clamp it from the top as well. And when all of that middle section is light grey, but all of the underneath is dark grey and well supported, I think this might be strong enough. So what I'm going to do is continue that, well, until I get at least halfway, I suppose, and then it becomes a bit more complicated with the first of those play features. Right, so I've continued that out, as you can see. There's the top, and there is the bottom, using a lot of plates. You might remember the halls that I got all these on. I got absolutely loads. I got a similar amount for my subway that we'll be doing very soon. So that is pretty strong, actually, because it is braced from the top. And I've used some really big pieces. They're 8x16 plates in light bluish grey on the top. And I thought I'd make use of tiles just to give it a bit of contrast between the edge and kind of a strip in the middle. And I have actually got quite a few of these, because I bought, what was it, 200 or 400? I can't remember. It was one of my biggest purchases of tiles ever. So I've got a load of these 2x4 ones in light bluish grey. So I think that looks really good. I've deliberately left a bit of a gap here, and that is for my airport sign, which is from the Airport 3182. It's kind of 3 pieces, 2 of the Lufthansa-esque signs and one that says airport. Makes sense, and that can just sort of clip on there. It's much better than the one that came with the 60104 set, which just was a great big blue blob that said airport. I think that looks really nice. And I can continue on to the next section. I won't push it down now because I need to sandwich it between that and that. So the next section can have another one of these great big plates to hold it together. So I think that's looking great. Now this whole expanse does need a bit more detail, I think. So what I might do is just add some kind of ventilation, relatively flat, but something along the lines of that. Now that's not very interesting, and I don't have enough of those printed ones that you can get from back in the day, but what I do have as part of my brick sticker pack is these vents. Now this is the sticker pack that's still available actually on Lego Shop at Home, and if you do use that, use my link below. Hint, hint. So we've got 2 there. I've got the other sheet of this somewhere, so there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because there's 2 on this sheet as well. So 8 of those to play with. So I think I might start adding those onto these stickers just to break up the grey, well the light grey, with some stickered dark grey. Yeah. So we are now up to, where are we up to? Here. So the next section is going to have the play feature in it here. So I'm going to have to build it with a bit more small pieces. And then I'm also going to start kind of turning a corner here to incorporate the one at the back, and stop using these curved slope pieces and basically make this solid bit kind of tee off like it's kind of like a T-junction road plate kind of going off into the distance there. So we'll kind of have a corner, even though we won't see that back bit of the building. So cool, looking good so far, I think. Right, we're building too big again to keep everything in shot, but here it goes. So here's our roof with loads of vents on. I've used all of those off those sticker sheets, so that's good. I've used all 8, so they're kind of spaced out a bit in a pattern that will probably make more sense shortly. But there is the sort of T-junction I was talking about, so it kind of goes off into the distance that way, kind of suggesting that the building perhaps narrows to accommodate the wings of aircraft and so on over here, and goes off into the distance, maybe with more gates and more shops and so on. So I like that very much. So we've got 1 hole here and 1 hole here for our 2 play features, and I've done that by strengthening them with these kind of, well, what are they, 4x4 pieces with a hole in the middle. There's no other way of describing those really. So it gets a bit more sort of rough and ready away from this very ordered end, but nonetheless it works. It's pretty strong. I can lift it with one hand, so that end can be unsupported, so on. Yeah, I quite like it. So obviously we'll have to try this on and try it on for size, but before I do, I just want to add a couple more features. The first of which I'll probably knock down at absolutely every possible opportunity, but nonetheless I thought I'd just make it a bit more interesting by adding a couple of those really long antenna pieces, because there must be loads of communications equipment all built into this sort of structure. And then I've left a space here, and you can probably imagine that's exactly where I'm going to put my control tower, kind of at the junction of the T cross area. And I thought the base of that could just be this, just again to give it a bit of a contrast. And I thought I could put it all the way on, but I thought I might even overhang these grey tiles on the front a little bit, just so it looks even more of a contrast. So let's see if I push that down very firmly, how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks good. I like it. So the tower itself will pop up from there out of the roof, but for now let's try this for size. I'm just going to wind this up. This probably isn't the best angle to show you from, but well, you can see it, can't you? Here we go. Right, moment of truth. I hope I've lined these up right. So I'll kind of find the first one, and there's the second one. Oh, and there it goes. It's a little bit warped, but I can push it down. There we go. How about that? I suppose the proof is in the pudding. There's one turning, and there's the other one turning. Yeah, looking good. And we've got quite a nice overhang here. You probably can't see that very well. Let's see if I can move the whole thing. There we go. I think that fits in well with these sort of metal grill pieces that would be underneath it. It's very shiny. And it overhangs a little bit on the sides, just by one stud. Yeah, I like it. I especially like the T-junction bit, actually, how it kind of goes off. It makes it look a lot more facade-y. When I first designed this, I had the curves on the back going the whole width of the building, which is why I had a real problem with moving this play feature into this position, because it'd be right slap bang in the middle of one. But now, I think it looks even better. So what I suggest to do now while we're still downstairs is build the control tower, and we can do that sort of separate from this build. And then I think we need to transport the whole lot into the Lego room and see how it looks in place. And then part 5 will be doing all the security walls and dressing the area and putting in the taxi rank and bus stops and scenes outside that are really good fun. And that's probably going to have to wait till after Halloween just because we've got so much to cram in before then. But that's a good problem to have. Lots of awesome content. So onto the control tower then. I've actually got 2 control towers already, and I don't like either of them. But that's fine. We're here to improve things after all. The first one is quite tall, so I'll tilt it sideways. This is from the cargo aircraft set 60022. And it's quite good in that it's quite tall, but it's very sort of two-dimensional. We've got a very open back with just a very precarious chair. Wouldn't want to work there. That would be very scary. But it's got a really attractive radar dish. I think that's the best one they've done with this sort of crosshatch on, rather than the red and white. But so, yeah, we've got some nice column pieces we can use, and lots of these windscreen pieces that we're kind of definitely going to have to use. But that's a good donor. Then we've got the one from 60104 as well, which I had a second sticker for, so I've put the stickers all the way around. So this is slightly less two-dimensional in that it's got 3 sides. Well, that one's got 3 sides, I suppose, but it just feels a little less precarious and a little deeper. It's still got that chair with an open back, radar dish on top, and so on. So I prefer this one to a degree because it's a bit more enclosed, but I want to make a much bigger one from all the parts of both of these and some more to make a completely enclosed 360 degrees tower that's, well, I don't know, probably about that big, but double height because I've got 4 of these cylinder pieces here now. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm probably going to have that radar dish on the top because I think I prefer it to that one. Definitely going to keep this striping. I'm going to have loads of screens and hopefully some sort of relatively panicked looking controllers as well. Right, so I've added all 4 of those cylinder pieces together to make a tower, and I've deliberately done it like this just so I can see how I want it, because we can either have the stripe at the very top, which looks pretty good, or we can kind of have it halfway up, which I think actually probably looks less good actually, so I think I'll go with it at the top. So that's very simple and sorted. Yep, that looks good. And then I'm going to build the main structure, and I'm basing that around these lovely 10 wide octagonal plates. I've kind of got a sandwich there just with a Technic brick in the middle for strength. And because of the way these work, you can't build in the same way on these diagonal surfaces here as you obviously can on the straight ones. So what I'm doing is kind of building a hinged structure on the straight ones for 3 of the sides. I'll do another one on the other side that covers 3 of the sides, and then I can build directly onto the other 2. And although it won't be 100% symmetrical, because you can see that is right to the corner there and it's just that tiny bit off, it will very much look like it because it's close enough. So how I've done that is I've just used a couple of those hinge bricks to make a little setup like that, held together by 1x4 plates, and then I can add those ones with the ladder bit or the grill, depending on how you look at it, onto the outside, so it's all disguised. And that also fits in with obviously the same sort of decoration that we've used on the main building. So there I've got this kind of 3 sections all in one, and then to attach it here I'm going to pin it from the top with a brick, which will actually end up being a sort of computer panel, and then from the bottom I'm going to hold it in place with one of those shoe pieces, 2x2 round, and then it's going to have all of the 8 sides with these window pieces going up, and then it'll also be held by the top because the roof will be done in a similar way. So I'm hoping that'll be strong enough, but you can start to see the dimensions of it all and how good it's going to look. So on the other 2 sides, you can just do a normal brick setup held from underneath and from above, like that. I can do another one Oh no, I've already done that bit. So there's that. 2 of those onto this side, and I need one of those underneath, and that, and then that. So now we've got a pretty cool looking base for our tower. So that will go on top of that, like that. And it'll all be held in place, touch wood. Now, we don't have a stairway to get up there, but hey-ho, this is Lego, not real life, so I'm not too worried about that. But I think that looks like a good base. Right, so onto the interior detail. I've added a lot of these blue bricks, which are going to support computer terminals all around, and a couple of these red chairs on swivels, just so they can sit down in calmer moments. And I've put in 3 screens that I'd actually used on my old control tower when I first built it, just to make it a little bit better. Unfortunately, I've got that sheet again, which is from the airport battle, the superhero airport battle 76051. And that is those 3 up there. So I can make duplicates of each of those 3 screens on other sign pieces, on these clamp pieces that will go on 3 more plinths. And then I can actually add keyboards as well to these. So I'm just going to use some printed tiles. So that one looks quite fun. And I've got 2 of those. I've got 2 of this one, which again looks quite fun. Bit of variation, just so we've got some really, really interesting controls. For the plinths here, so 1, 2 again. I think that's a bit better than just using sort of boring keyboards or something. Right, so we're going to have 6 screens, 4 computer panels, that's good. And then the 2 that are kind of going to be facing backwards into our wall, but kind of over what really will be all of the runways and all the rest of it through the wall, I've put 2 of these modified plates. And that's just so I can add one of the sort of lightsaber hilts with a set of binoculars on, because I figure that they would use those sort of hard-mounted binoculars to see in more detail what's going on. Now, I don't know if that's still actually true or not, but nonetheless, I quite like it. Right, next I can start actually ripping off all of these windscreen pieces from my old towers and actually putting them onto each of the 8 things of these, where they should all sort of meet pretty much perfectly and make a really nice, pleasing, round thing with the same sort of colour scheme of the glass as the main building. So, yeah, let's do that. And here we are with the glass all in. I think that's looking really good. We'll be able to see in very clearly at all these computer panels and so on. And wow, doesn't that look really technologically advanced? Very confusing indeed, but very necessary. So there is the boss, and he's got his shirt and tie on, and he's sweating profusely because of the stress of being an air traffic controller. But he's got what can be your best friend when you're in a very stressful situation, a good old mug of tea. And he needs a bit of help up there, I think. So I've got another one of those torsos for kind of a generic airline employee. And he's a trainee, so he's got his glasses and another mug of tea because, as I say, that's the most important equipment you need. So we'll have him there. So that's looking pretty good. I think that's a good view for us. Now for the next stage, I'm going to use these, what are they, 4x3 slopes to kind of bring the roof back in a bit. Actually, I'll start at the back. And for the ones that are in the right positions, i.e. the sort of 4 normal corners, I'm going to have a plate on them. And then for the 4 sort of diagonal movie ones, I'm going to have just a tile on the top. And that means that they won't interfere with the roof. Now, it does mean that they won't actually be physically pinned in position. So when we've got this, moved into the Lego room, these might actually flap open. But what I can do is then just close them, and then it will be fixed again. So a bit imperfect, but I think it's worth it to get this sort of really enclosed view. And then I'll just get one more on. I think I can show you the next stage as well. So when I've got all of those on and folded in, I can then use one of these pieces, which is the same as the one below, just with a hole in it, to kind of perfectly, I think, or should I say seamlessly, fit in that gap. And then I can join that with the 4 ones with studs on. So I'm going to use a 4x12 plate there, 4x4s there and there, and I can use these wedge plates to kind of make that a slightly larger version than the one that they're sitting on. And that then, if I've done it right, should sit, yep, and connect with all of those and form the roof of this section. So that's kind of how it'll look when it's done. And then of course it will be on this great big pole. It'll have that radar dish on the top, and I've got some more bricks for decoration as well. Alright, so there it is, fully enclosed. Looking pretty good if you ask me. My main target was to get this being 360 degrees, so they could look all the way around and we wouldn't have an open back control tower, and I've achieved that. And I very much like the fact that we've got the grills on here that tie in with the building along there as well, so that looks really good. Now the really delicate bit's going to be trying to put this roof on. It's going to have to join up with all four of the sides, so let's see if I can do that on camera. Not sure, I might have to do this off film in case it goes disastrously wrong. Oh no, that's 3 on and 4. Ooh, yep, that looks good. Now these things will flip open, like I said. Like this one seems to be more loose than the others, but when you just push it back in place, it'll be absolutely fine. So that is looking good. And I absolutely love the binoculars peeking out of the back 2 windows as well. The only shame is we're probably not going to see that anywhere near as much. But they do need to point that way. Right, so that then goes on top of this, which I'm definitely not going to do on camera because it's going to almost certainly collapse if I do, because it's right in front of me. It's very hard to do. And then I can put the whole lot on the building. Oh, but let's not forget our wonderful little radar dish that is there, that can spin round. Yeah, really like that. Fantastic. Tell me what you think. And there it is, all pieced together. Looking good. I'm certain I'm going to knock off all these antennae all the time, since we've got 4 of them. There's all the vents. All the way down to there. So yeah, this is looking very impressive now. You can kind of only see that red and white patchwork sticker underneath the control tower from a relatively low angle, because as soon as you go much higher it sort of vanishes. But I don't think that's so much a problem. It kind of looks more weird further down. I really like that dish. That just looks fantastic. I think I'll add another dish somewhere else just to make use of the remaining dish pieces, because they usually have more than one radar system. So there is our wonderful roof with its sort of T-type shape there going off into the background of the facade. And there is the crowning glory, which is our wonderful control tower, which I'm liking very much indeed. Completely 360, so wherever we look at it from the Lego room, we'll enjoy its fun shape. But yeah, this airport is really come together now. I think you'll agree. Now, how am I going to get it into the Lego room? So I did actually receive another fantastic idea over the last week, and that was to build a minifigure representation of John McClane of the Die Hard movies, played by Bruce Willis, of course. And I've got him here in his characteristic stained white vest or tank top, and he's just walking out of my terminal building. Presumably he's hanging around waiting to pick up his wife, just like in Die Hard 2. So I suppose that is more what he's representing with his connection to an airport, because we aren't in Nakatami Plaza, which would be Die Hard 1, of course. So I suppose right now is the scene before everything goes a bit wrong. But yeah, I really like that. So there is John McClane. Thank you very much for that one. Right, so the question now is, how am I going to get this beast into the Lego room, which is up a flight of stairs with a corner in it? Well, what I figure I'm going to do is use a couple of these Crossroad base plates just to sort of slide underneath it to give it a little bit more strength, because there's so many fracture points because it's made up of all the little base plates. And then when I've got it on my desk, I'm going to try and slide the whole thing onto this large Amazon box, just to act kind of as a very flat tray to transport the whole bulk up there. And if I make it without losing too many pieces, I'll be very happy. I'm definitely going to remove the baggage car first, because that and the power cart just roll around like crazy, so got no chance of keeping them intact. Yeah, wish me luck. So I suppose we better get a before shot. If you remember part 1, we designed that little roadway for in and out of taxis, and that is the very thin looking from here space that we're going to fit all that airport into. And just so you can see how I transported it up, there it is on a box on some base plates, kind of a bit perilous, but it wasn't too bad actually. And there's all my boxes with builds and things like that, and brick collections in, and here is where we're going to start our Halloween specials from Monday onwards for 4 straight videos. Brick hauls will still continue. So now I've just got to get it onto the table, which is another feat, presumably. Well, yippee-ki-yay, it is in. There's John McClane, and there is our airport in position. Now obviously we need to do a lot of work around the surrounding area, namely tiling of this area over here. I'm also planning to have a hotel nearby. I need to probably add a tree or something out the front, maybe some modern art or something like that. Definitely a bus stop in all of this area. Then a security fence around all of the outside of both sides of the airport itself. And then we'll get back into built up buildings for the rest of the city, probably where this building site is. Now the biggest unknown at the moment is whether we can get this monorail system with the orange tram on it to actually link up with the airport. So we can either do that by putting a turn in there and having it turn and basically go over this railway line, or maybe over where this demolition site is, down to an area about there. Or we could get a rather expensive junction piece and have it splitting off and going in both directions, one towards the airport and one continuing out here. Now I'm not sure I want this one continuing all that much further, because well, it was starting to interfering with the standing hole where I'm standing right now, and I've got very limited space as it is, so I don't really want to interfere with that. But yeah, I'll have to play around with that. So I think there might be another, potentially 2 parts to this airport really. Doing all the outside area with radar dishes and bus stops and trees and all sorts of stuff. And then also the monorail extension. But the good news is you can see this really well from practically everywhere in the Lego room. We can see gate number 1, which is boarding currently with all of these people. The facade against the wall does look great. That aircraft, I mean, it's unmistakable what it is, so it's not sort of looking like a really sort of confusing nose cone stuck to a wall, at least. I really like this control tower, which we can see from absolutely all angles, and that's not a facade, which I was very keen to avoid. And I really, really like the fact that this is kind of like a T-junction of a building that kind of looks like it goes off vertically backwards that way, I think. So that really adds to the illusion of the facade. And then with John McClane out the front as well, what can we possibly do to improve it? Well, I'm sure you'll let me know if you've got any further comments or suggestions. I'm not going to add any more to the insides at this point. I think if we do think of anything more for the inside, then it'll have to be on round 2, like I said earlier. I will put in some more people just to populate it. I'll probably do that next time as well as part of the next section. And all of that work will have to follow our Halloween specials. Now, don't get put off if you're not into Halloween or that isn't an important time of year for you, because it's really got very little to do with Halloween as such. In that we're going to do the subway station number 2, which will very much look like subway station number 1, which you can kind of just see in there. Except it's going to be a bit Stranger Thingsy, it's going to be a bit muted, and it is going to be haunted, and that's where the Halloween aspect comes in. I was always going to do that, but with the timing of Halloween, it just seemed to make sense to combine the two. So it will be 4 parts, Monday, Friday, Monday, Friday, ending on Halloween itself, or Halloween's Eve, I forget what date it is. But yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting, and we're going to have 2 trains. One will be the existing train that goes round this loop at the moment, and we're also going to have a brand new underground train which is going to be added as well. So that'll be one of those 4 videos. I think it's going to be amazing. The second train in particular is so cool. I'm very proud of it. So I look forward to showing all of you that. But for now, I think we can just enjoy the look of this airport building with its fully removable roof and detailed interior, which I won't go into again right now because we've kind of done that to death. But yeah, it's looking good. I think it's becoming part of a very built-up city. And the fact that I've done it as a facade means it's been done for a relatively cheap amount of table space, I think. But it'll look even better when it's seamlessly integrated with the rest of the city by way of pavements and stuff like that. Good, good. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, well, we'll be going to our Halloween special and our first part of our subway expansion and second station. Awesome! See you then!